Welcome to my channel, That Carnivore Life. I'm Emily and today I'm going to share with you a story. Today's story is about my journey through health and how I ended up eating animal only. But first, before I do that, it has been a week since I last posted, and in that vlog I shared with you that I was feeling under the weather. It wasn't allergies and I had tested positive and was in quarantine. But how do I feel after a week? I feel amazing. I barely had any symptoms of anything, and any of the symptoms that I had were very, very minimal. My isolation ends today, so as of tomorrow, I am a free woman, which is amazing. Let's move on. How did I get here? Carnivore story time. In primary school, or if you're American, in elementary school, I was as skinny as a stick. I couldn't drink dairy. I could actually only drink soy milk. I do remember that I could eat cheeses and also ice cream. And then by the time I was in grade 2, I could drink a chocolate Big M, which I was very pleased about. I played basketball, training once a week, the game once a week, so twice a week I was playing basketball. And after each basketball game, we would get fish and chips. We would have a row of chocolate each, which was 6 squares of chocolate, and we would have a glass of Coca-Cola each. So that was the treat for my family once a week because my mum was with me as I played basketball. As I got to a teenager, I stopped playing basketball when I moved into high school. So that was grade 7. I was about 12 to 13 years of age when I stopped basketball and moved into high school. In high school, the cafeteria gave me way more access to unhealthy food that I really liked. And I also begun being bullied at this time as well. And so I was definitely comfort eating. I had stopped playing basketball, was eating more junk, and was comfort eating. It was at this point that I very quickly began to put on weight. I started putting on weight around grade 8 when I was 13 to 14 years old, and I started dieting around grade 9. I was around 15 years old when I first started dieting, and I specifically remember my mum talking to me about it and saying that she would help me find a diet that worked. These are the diets that I have tried between the ages of 15 and 33. Super Slim, Weight Watchers, the soup diet, the salad diet, body trim, calorie counting, shakes, bars, weight loss drug, but I can't remember the name of which one, laxatives, exercise, fasting, the plate serving diet, and the under 10 grams of sugar per 100 grams diet. The diets out of all of those that I liked were body trim, the 10 grams of sugar, the calorie counting. Really the only reason why I liked the calorie counting is because if I exercised enough, I could eat Mars bars. So I could eat a chocolate bar because they were so low in calories that I could eat several of them in a day. And with all the exercise that I did, I also ended up being in a calorie deficit, which meant that I would lose weight. Diets I didn't like: Super Slim, Weight Watchers, the soup and the salad diet, the calorie diet, shakes, bars, drugs, laxatives, exercising, and plate serving. So basically all of those diets I did not like. Even the diets that I did like, there were aspects of them that I really didn't like and found them super frustrating. Why did I like the diets that I liked? The convenience, very little effort that was required, no diary recording, no counting, and also what gave me real food. I also liked being able to eat sweets, but that was probably the addiction to the sweet. So for example, with body trim, it was eating real food, it was protein with a little bit of sauce and fruits and vegetables, but certain fruits and vegetables were excluded. What I didn't like about body trim is that I would have to eat every 3 hours and I would need to have a specific serving size of protein in that time. I found that really restricting. What I didn't like about these diets: effort that was involved, the time, the thought involved, keeping of diaries, a tracking or a record, so I've always got something with me or I've always got to remember to pull out my phone. The restriction of time, having to eat every 3 hours, like sometimes that's just not possible. Restriction of the amount of food or the types of food, the sick feeling that the drugs would give, and the amount of time involved. For example, exercising. Sometimes I was going for a walk for 2 hours a day or sweating it out for a full hour, and I just didn't enjoy that. Probably problems with being able to eat certain foods, that began around the age of 16 years old. One of the things that really stands out in my mind is having a tomato-based dish, like a pasta dish or a ratatouille, and partway through eating it or very soon after eating it, I would have excruciating stomach pains. I would get hot and cold, and I would go to the bathroom, and TMI, but have very explosive bathroom visits. It was painful, it was uncomfortable, I felt sick, and it ruined my evening. We identified through the help of medical professionals that I wasn't tolerating garlic, gluten, and onion. And so we removed those from my diet. I say we, meaning my mom and I. But sometime around the age of 18 to 20, I began adding these foods back in, the garlic and the onion, and then eventually the gluten. And I thought I was getting away with it, to be honest. In 2011, I had a really crazy year, and this segues into me talking about the diagnoses that I have and when I was diagnosed with them. At the beginning of 2011, there was a very horrific death in my family. Both my brother and dad, my brother got injuries, my dad had a medical condition that they both needed major surgery for and had significant periods of time off work. Then in the middle of 2011, I had eye surgery that went really wrong, and I ended up legally blind for about 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. The whole process was around 6 months, 5 to 6 months of seeing specialists, if not every day, every second, and then every third day, and then eventually twice a week at different locations such as hospitals. My eyes are actually now used for training up and coming medical professionals. It was a pretty big deal. I'm the first one that it happened to, but it was incredibly traumatic. And it was around the end of July that I started to get very sick. I stayed home instead of going out to an all-you-can-eat seafood restaurant with my parents and family friends of ours. And that is incredibly unusual, especially considering I had been to this restaurant before and loved it. That's when we knew, my parents and I knew, that something wasn't right. At this point, I got lots of tests. I was seen by a gastroenterologist, and he put me on a specific medication and said, if your health doesn't clean up, we can look at dietary options such as FODMAPs, and we can get your breath test. Because mum and I already knew that from when I was 16, when we left the clinic, she and I decided we'd follow up with that anyway. So in late 2011, I was diagnosed with food malabsorptions under the FODMAPs scale. Then in 2012, when I still wasn't well and ended up in hospital in February, March, I had further testings done, and it was confirmed I had Crohn's disease. Then in late 2013, when my health still wasn't fully improved, I had further testing done through a naturopath, and it was discovered that I had quite a number of food allergies, although they weren't anaphylaxis. There is a number of professionals that I have seen. I have seen numerous family practitioners, so PCPs. I've seen emergency room doctors and hospital doctors, specialists in both of those areas as well. I've seen gastroenterologists, clinical nurses, IBD nurses. I've seen dietitians and nutritionists, both in the hospital setting, outside of the hospital setting, and also in private practices. I've seen a rheumatologist. I've seen psychologists and counselors, naturopaths, personal trainers, pain psychologist specialists. Many of these people that I have seen and been treated by and taken into the care of, especially my gastroenterologist and the pain psychologist, they are leaders in their field in my country, and some of them are actually leaders in the world as well in their field. Very well respected and world renowned. When I first moved to the USA in 2017, I actually went vegan for around 3 to 4 months. I was 97% vegan, meaning occasionally when I was out of the home, I would have some meat or some cheese, but when I was at home, I was full vegan. I don't know why I did this. It's just what my body wanted at the time, and basically everything I ate at home was also organic. But then after the 3 to 4 months, I went back to eating the modern or the standard diet in the Western world that is put in front of our faces. I then went back home to Australia for about 15 months, and I call it a gap year. In that gap year, I ate everything that I couldn't get in the US, and everything for that last time before I came back to the US that I couldn't get here, as I'm still currently in the US. And a lot of that involved chocolate, Cadbury chocolate to be really specific. Back in the US, I also ate whatever I wanted. I came back in 2019, except it was gluten, garlic, and onion free, and some of the other FODMAPs as well. I also avoided some of those. Other than that, I was basically eating whatever I wanted, but getting really frustrated with the amount of weight that I had put on. I did think that I was getting away with having added food back into my diet that I was previously told I couldn't eat for those various medical reasons. In late 2019, when I was back in the US, and in early 2020, I had a very stressful 7 months. My closest friend was viciously attacked. Actually, it was attempted murder. After this, I had a car accident. It was crazy. I shouldn't be alive, but I am. And then COVID hit the world. It was a very stressful time. By the time it got to the middle of the year of 2020, I was recognizing my health was not good. And that's when I hit breaking point. I was in a lot of physical pain, despite being 6 to 7 months recovered from my car accident. I had so many mental blocks. I had poor sleep and lack of motivation. I was ravenous for all food, healthy or not, like ridiculously ravenous. I was overweight. I was feeling ill all of the time, and I was not tolerating warm weather, and I love hot weather. I have no issues with the heat. So on June 15 of 2020, after reaching out to a friend who had been carnivore for a year, researching a lot online for 4 hours that morning, at around 11 or 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, I went straight into carnivore. My carnivore journey now spans over 20 months. After those first 3 months, up until 3 months ago, a lot of that time was spent adding extra things in. So I would eat carnivore at my meals, but then I would have snacks like ice cream or some chocolate, or I'd have fries with my meal. Occasionally, not all the times, I would have a gluten-free bun with my burger. I was still eating carnivore, but I'd added other things back in, or I'd do a week of carnivore and then I'd do a week where I was still eating carnivore, but also eating non-carnivore things. Then since November 27, so the last 3 months, I have been carnivore 97% of the time. The reason I haven't been full carnivore is because on Thanksgiving for 2 days, then at Christmas and the week between Christmas and my birthday is New Year's Eve. So it's a pretty crazy time of year. And then just a week ago or a week and a half ago, my best friend's wedding. On those particular moments, I did eat foods that were not carnivore. And what it has shown me is how much the non-carnivore foods, specifically specific ones, negatively affects my health. And that's actually encouraging me to get straight back into carnivore and stick to it and be 100% carnivore. How do I feel now? I have lost weight. I'm not at the lightest I've been yet, and I plan to be even lighter than that. I don't know about my measurements because I actually haven't taken any measurements on carnivore yet. I took some this morning, so in a month it will be interesting to see what happens with my measurements. Since Thanksgiving, I can tell you that I have gone down a full dress size, but the scales have only changed about 6 kilos. That's not many pounds. I think it's like 12 pounds or 13 pounds. It's not a lot of pounds. Health-wise, the Crohn's hasn't been an issue for me. My skin is clearing up. At the moment, I still have a bit of breakout from having had COVID. That was something that happened, is that I got lots of breakout. What I've learned through my health journey is that it's all about listening to your body and what works for you as an individual. I don't like to be restricted or contained, and I really enjoy food. With carnivore, it works really well because I can eat as much as I want, whenever I want, as long as it comes from an animal. And whilst I'm restricting fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds, I don't actually feel restricted because I'm eating so much. I feel satiated. I'm enjoying the food that I eat. And because when I do eat those other foods, they make me feel sick. And eating carnivore, even if I overeat, I don't feel sick, which is really nice. The other thing that I've also learned is that it isn't one solution works for everyone. Whilst carnivore works for me, it might not work for somebody else. And whilst carnivore works for me right now, in 10 years, it might not, and I could end up eating something different. Whilst vegan works for someone right now, it might not in a year or 10 years, and they may flip to carnivore overnight, just like Bella from Steak and Butter Girl did. She's actually a fantastic one to research if you're wanting to know the difference between vegan and carnivore. She has fantastic information. She's now 3 years carnivore after switching from full vegan for 6 years to carnivore overnight. The thing that I would ask, whatever way you're eating, is are you struggling from health issues? Is the way that you're eating working for your health? You might be eating this way and seeing an improvement in your health, but have those issues resolved? Are they still affecting your quality of life? How many supplements are you taking? Are your values for your vitamins and minerals, are they improving and improving enough on those supplements? And how much are they actually helping you? These are questions I would ask anyone, not just a vegetarian or vegan. I would ask someone who's also eating carnivore these exact same questions, because if you've been eating that way for a while, I'm talking more than 4 months and actually properly eating that way, not throwing chocolate or ice cream in like I was, but solidly eating that way for more than 3 months, and you're not seeing significant improvement in your health, I would suggest that way is not working for you. For example, my blood type explains that I should be eating an almost full vegetarian diet. That would actually kill my body, because most of those fruits and vegetables actually make me really sick. And if I was relying on them for my fuel source and my food source, I would be bedridden every day. So even with carnivore, one size doesn't fit all. Some can consume dairy, some can't. Some can eat any meat or any animal. Some can only eat beef. Our bodies need to heal. When we find the diet that actually works for us and actually heals our body, it can sometimes take 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 plus years for our body to heal. It usually doesn't happen in 3 months, though we can see improvement around that period of time. Some of us, we're all individuals. All of these years that I have struggled with my weight, all of these years that I have struggled with different health conditions, and all of these years that I have struggled to find a diet or a way of eating that has worked for my health has really taken a toll on my body. More than that, it's taken a toll on me mentally. My thoughts and my relationship with food and things that I consume is really damaged and really poor from all of these years of diets that are really ultimately short-term things with short-term benefits that in the long run cause more harm. A lot of the really bad harm they cause isn't just in our bodies physically. I believe it's in our bodies mentally. It really damages our relationship to food and our perception of what is actually good for our bodies and what isn't. To be eating a chocolate bar because it fits into my calorie allowance, a heavily processed chocolate bar, is not good for my health. Yet I thought it was okay. And yeah, maybe it was okay 3 times a year, but not 3 times a week or several times a day. What I noticed with these diets is that I was getting sicker and sicker, and my relationship with food was getting worse and worse. And these diets were a major disruption and a major problem in my life. The thing that I've noticed with carnivore and what I am most grateful for is, yeah, it's been an adjustment, but it's not been a disruption. I'm not sad eating carnivore. I'm not angry eating carnivore. I'm not moody eating carnivore. Yeah, sometimes I get hangry, but don't we all? What I love about this way of eating is it gives me so much freedom and I'm not restricted. As I mentioned, yeah, I'm not eating fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds. I'm not eating those things, and to some people that feels restrictive. But when you're eating food that you love and when you're able to eat as much of it as you like whenever you like, that has actually brought me so much freedom mentally, and that is making all the difference physically. And for that, I'm so ridiculously grateful that I have found a way that is bringing so much freedom into my life. My relationship with food is improving so much more. I actually see food now for what it is, and even when I do have moments where I want to eat a cake pop from Starbucks, I'm able to recognize that that isn't food that's going to bring me benefit. In fact, it's actually going to cause me harm, and it's going to take me away from the goals that I have set for myself through eating carnivore. That is to improve my health and as an extra benefit to lose some weight. The interesting thing is I haven't lost a whole lot of weight, but I've lost an entire dress size, and my stomach is flatter than what that weight or that dress size has given me in the past on one of those previously mentioned diets. I just wanted to share that. I've shared a lot of facts in relation to my journey of how I got to where I am today. today, but I wanted to share the fact that previous to carnivore, when it came to my association to food and diet, I was miserable and they were awful. But with carnivore, there's so much freedom. I'm so much more calm. I'm so much more level-headed, and it's bringing me more and more joy the longer that I stay on it. So it'll be interesting to see 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, when I've been doing carnivore solidly for a year, it'll be really interesting to see how I feel about this way of eating then and how my health is going. And I'm really excited to share this journey with you. I'm not saying that I'm going to be carnivore for the rest of my life, but what I am saying is carnivore works for me, and it works for me really well. So while it's working for me, while my health is amazing, while I don't have any health conditions that are causing me problems or any health conditions, I'm going to continue eating this way. Now, I'm not saying I don't have health concerns. I do. I am seeing improvement in them. If I continue to see improvement and then they resolve, I'm going to continue eating carnivore. But if I start to recognize carnivore isn't working for me, I will change things up. Absolutely. This isn't a life sentence, but it is what's working for me now. And that's why I'm going to stick to it. And that's what I would say to anybody with any way of eating. If it's working for you, keep doing it. But if it's not working for you, change things up. The other thing that I'd like to say is I've shared with you my health journey, my diet journey. I've been on so many diets. The way of eating carnivore, eating animal only, is the one where I felt the most free. I'm not saying there's not moments where it feels restrictive. For example, when someone says, let's go to Chinese, that's a little bit of a challenge for me. When I say, let's go to Korean barbecue, that's super easy for me. So it's about altering a couple of things in my life. That's the way with any diet. I'm not sitting down going, can I have a piece of steak the size of my palm? I'm sitting down going, give me the biggest, juiciest, fattiest steak you've got. Usually ribeye is actually what I ask for. If I've got leftovers, I'm taking them home. Usually there's not leftovers. It's so easy and I don't miss anything. Occasionally I do miss desserts, but I can confirm that is addiction talking. Not that I actually enjoy it. See, if I do get a dessert, I'm like, oh yeah, this was great. Could have gone without it. If I sit down and I'm like, oh, I feel addicted to a ribeye, I'm gonna have a ribeye. I sit there, I eat it, I enjoy it. It brings me alive. But what I recognize, especially with processed foods, it actually doesn't bring me alive. It really doesn't. Yeah, I enjoy them. Yeah, they taste great. The sensation's great. When I think about it, I actually don't enjoy it, which is weird now. And I only recognized once I cleaned up my diet on carnivore and was able to tune into what my body was telling me that it wanted and what it's telling me that it doesn't want. I hope you found this story time helpful today. And I want to encourage you to reach out to me with any questions that you have. There's only so much I can say on these videos. Please like this video by hitting the thumbs up down below. To subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification to be notified of my future uploads. And please come follow me on Instagram, thatcarnivorelife.gram, to see daily snippets about my life, what I eat, and some of my thoughts around carnivore. Thank you all for joining me today for this story time, and I'll see you next time. Bye.